Each approach has its uses and its downsides if used in excess. Often, we're aiming for a generative approach that balances advocacy with inquiry. We advocate our point of view by stating it clearly and succinctly, and being prepared to explain our position. And we inquire into the other's perspective by asking and being genuinely curious to understand where they're coming from. A good way to think about this is to have strong ideas and to hold them loosely, so you remain open to others' perspectives. By remaining open, you can often generate better solutions to organisational issues. This is like testing out your ideas. You might use language such as this. Here's what I think and why. What do you think about that? Of course, it's important to mean what you say. People who authentically adopt this approach tend to achieve better agreements than those who always push their own point of view or who simply go along with the other's lead, not appearing to have an opinion themselves. There are problems if you always use one approach. You've already looked at some examples of the language and thoughts people might use when using the different approaches. Some of these were classed as dysfunctional. Those who always advocate their opinion can come across as dictating. But if you never advocate your opinion and continuously ask for more and more opinions from others, it can sometimes be seen as an interrogation. Doing neither is a sign of your disinterest. There might be good reasons to withdraw sometimes, however, it's rarely helpful if that is all you ever do. You will have noted earlier the overuse of high advocacy and high inquiry can be used as a dysfunctional game of politicking. It can also drag out engagement beyond its usefulness. Sometimes you need to form an opinion, decide, and get on with it. Now I'm going to show you another model that's closely linked to advocacy and inquiry. It's called the ladder of inference, and it demonstrates how we make action-oriented decisions about data and information we have available to us. Let's assume there is a pool of data available. This might be a spreadsheet, a chart, a report, someone presenting, or simply talking to us. It's all data we are taking in. The first thing our brains do is hone in on the data we're interested in. We delete everything else as we have deemed it to be unimportant. We are not aware we are doing this. Our brains are very good at looking for patterns. The next thing we do is to compare the data we've selected to our back catalogue of experiences, values and beliefs to interpret the data. We distort it to fit our own mental models of the world and sometimes to fit a decision we've already made. And then we draw our conclusions. This all happens in a flash, intrapsychically. We have ascended our own ladder of inference, climbing each rung very quickly. And so we advocate our position on what action to take from the top of our ladder. Each step on the ladder is laden with our own context, values and assumptions, and yet we rarely explain these to others. Often we are unaware of them ourselves. Now consider for a moment what happens when two people are in discussion at work. Here's that pool of data again. It's important to note it's the same data both people have access to. Here's your ladder, and here's the other person's ladder. We've drawn these as diverging the further up you both climb. This is because your deletions, distortions and generalizations are likely to be different from the other person's. So you end up at the top of your respective ladders, arguing over seemingly the same data, but with very different conclusions. You'll never see eye to eye at the top of your own ladders because you have imbued different meaning into the data. We call this dueling logics, as you each advocate your own position and cannot understand the other's position. Sound familiar? Breaking out of dueling logics requires balancing high-quality advocacy with high-quality inquiry. As well as advocating your views fully, you must also inquire into their views. So you must state your conclusions, explain your reasoning, and illustrate it with examples from the data. You're in effect stepping down your ladder to get closer to the raw data. And you must encourage the other person to step down their own ladder too. You do this through inquiry. Ask them how they came to their conclusion. Ask them to show their reasoning. Ask for examples from the data. By doing this, You ensure you can both select the same data and imbue it with shared meaning so you can make better, collaborative, action-oriented decisions. Effectively, by finding common ground, you can both climb the same ladder of inference. This model seems complicated, but it's actually quite straightforward to apply in practice. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I was a change manager on a large transformation program. Tens of millions of pounds had been spent on new premises and new technology, and my role was to embed the behaviours and culture that was needed to bring the operating model to life. I overheard the program manager talking to the sponsor of the program. She said, "Jeremy's work has been excellent on this program, but we need to make some cost savings to the budget." Well, I came away selecting the data that I thought was important. We need to make some cost savings on the budget. But it turns out the program manager had selected some different data entirely. Jeremy's work on this program has been excellent. So when I was called in to see her, rather than advocating my position, getting defensive about how good my work was, I simply started by asking her how things were going. She said, "The work you've been doing on this program has been excellent, but we need to make some cost savings. So I'm going to look at where I can trim it so you can get some more time on the program." Do you see how easy it is to go into a meeting perhaps with the wrong idea of what's important? And simply by asking a question, we were able to find the common data that we could both agree on and move forward from there. Balancing advocacy with inquiry is captured beautifully in this quote from Stephen R. Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He also suggests the order in which to tackle them. Inquire first, then advocate your position. Seek first to understand, says Covey, then to be understood. This is the essence of collaborative working, of influencing, of strategic partnering. Now let's look at how we choose to handle difficult conversations. We're going to consider 2 dichotomies. Firstly, how we judge the world to be. Either it's a hostile, volatile place, or it's a stable, safe place. Of course, we're probably somewhere in between. Our upbringing and personality have a big impact on how we see the world around us. And then we perceive ourselves in relation to our environment, either as more or less powerful than it. Again, we're probably somewhere in between, but for the purposes of considering different approaches to handling difficult conversations, let's use these extreme positions. Some people generally consider the world a dangerous, volatile place, and yet they consider themselves to be more powerful than that environment. These are people who believe they can thrive in any situation. They play to win, whatever the odds. Clearly, in a challenging situation, they are prone to fight over it. In the workplace, it manifests as always arguing their position. This maps to high advocacy, low inquiry we saw earlier. Other people believe they are less powerful than the hostile world in which they find themselves and might choose to stay clear of difficult situations. In the workplace, this manifests as either avoiding conflict or explicitly agreeing not to discuss a difficult issue, or low advocacy, low inquiry we saw earlier. This left-hand side of the model is the same as the classic fight or flight response all mammals have in response to danger. So it's no surprise that you'll have encountered these responses at work or even used them yourself. If, on the other hand, you perceive your environment as more stable and safe, you will probably choose to handle difficult situations differently. Remember, the judgment of the environment is something that we've built up over a lifetime of conditioning and experience, so you might not be aware of your position on the horizontal axis of this model. People who perceive themselves as less powerful than the environment like things to be harmonious and for everyone to get along, so rather than staying clear, they are more likely to use inquiry to ensure everyone's okay, and in conflict situations, to let it go, or in other words, give in to others' opinions. Unlike explicitly agreeing with others not to discuss difficult topics we saw in Stay Clear, they unilaterally choose not to fight over it to preserve group harmony. And finally, if we believe the world is a safe place and we are more powerful than it, we are more likely to work together with others to find generative solutions to any situations, including conflict and difficult conversations. Reviewing this model, you may well recognise yourself as preferring one or more of these approaches when handling difficult conversations. It's important to note each approach is useful in different situations, and we can all choose to adopt each approach. You can now click on each box to read more about when each approach is useful at work and the skills needed to adopt it.